Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. Lots of rumors circulating in the last 48 hours, so I thought let's bring back our Liverpool Transfer Talk series earlier than planned as we reach the last stages of the current season. So let's begin with the first rumor, and that is Jorrel Hato to Liverpool. Now, according to rumors, Jorrel Hato wants to leave Ajax in order to pursue a new challenge, and you've got clubs like Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Real Madrid being linked with the player. No huge surprise that we've been linked with Hato for almost a year now, I would say. I've been familiar with the player for about a couple of years. Uh, Whenever I watch the play, he's very impressive. Um, Centre back by trade, but has evolved as a hybrid player where he's played predominantly as a left back for Ajax. He's their current captain, being only 18, 19 years of age, which goes to show his maturity beyond his years. Uh, stylistically, for me, the player that's very good on the ball, defensively sound in terms of one-on-one duels, uh, can play centre back, can play left back, so he'd be a very interesting option for us. And I don't think he'd break the bank. I think we could probably get him for around 30 odd million pounds. So he would be a great addition to our squad. Of course, being Dutch, he'll have the likes of Van Dijk, Gravenberg, and Gakpo to keep him company, but of course, help him get embedded to the team very, very quickly. So I feel like this would be a great signing for the club. But the big question is he being signed as a centre back or as a left back, or is he being signed as a squad player to cover both areas? Because if you look at our current crop of centre backs, they are 6'3", 6'4", that sort of height. Hato is currently 6 foot, so I say currently because he's 18, 19, so there might be, some sort of growth in that situation. I know, when you're that age, you don't tend to grow that much, but there are certain players you actually do have a bit of a growth spurt. So with him being 6 foot, is that the right sort of height for him to be a commanding centre back in the Premier League? I think it's not, 6 foot is not short to say the least, but I think he can still do a good job for us. I think we're probably just used to having very tall and imposing centre backs that are 6'4", um, and maybe that's something we need in our team to counter opponents that have big strikers or physical strikers in those kind of tools that we have on the pitch. So it's very interesting to see what happens with Hato. But I do feel like he's a player that has been on our radar for quite some time. Of course, he also made that trip to Anfield a couple of months ago that only heightened the speculation even further. So I do feel like he's a player that's on the cards for us to sign this summer. Um, but let's see. It could be where it's maybe Hato or Kerkez, or it's Hato and Kerkez. So only time will tell. And speaking of the other player is Kerkez. Now he's being strongly linked with a move to Liverpool, which is no breaking news there. But the breaking news is that the odds were slashed from 2 to 1 yesterday, which pretty much suggests that it's almost a done deal. And I remember this time last year, that was the same odds that was for Arne Slot becoming Liverpool coach, and look what happened. He became our coach. So when the odds are so low and it's pretty much, you know, close to happening in terms of the odds there, it basically means that it's a sure deal. You've got to kind of read between the lines that that could be a player that's on the verge of signing for the club, and I think it's a fantastic signing. I really like Hato, but also I'm a big fan of Kerkez as well. I've literally watched him this season. I've grown to like him even more in terms of what he brings to the table. Very all action left back, um, rolls down that left hand side continuously. Defensively good in one-on-one duels as well. He's just not an attack-minded fullback. He can definitely put in a shift defensively. Can go inside as well, which is a great trait to have, and attack from a bit more of a left-sided central role. Because you'll need your fullbacks to do that. There'll be times where you have your fullbacks overlapping on the byline, but also underlapping. So we need to have that variation between our fullback and our wingers. So that's going to be key to how we set up next season. I feel like he brings that to the table, and it's going to be very interesting to see him in the Liverpool team. Of course, he's got um, his counterpart in terms of his national team captain in Dominic Szoboszlai, which will of course help him settle into the club very well. It's a deal that should be wrapped up soon because it's Richard Hughes' former employers, so it shouldn't be, shouldn't be a hard one to get done. But I think that would be a great signing for Liverpool. But it also raises the question for me, and that is, what if we were signing Kerkez and Hato? Now, Kerkez, as I mentioned, is a traditional left back. Hato is a bit more of a hybrid where he can play left back and centre back. Now, I don't see both players being signed for that left back position, which is what I would have considered both players to be, because that would suggest that we're selling both Robertson and Simicast, which is not impossible in terms of the scenario, but very, very unlikely that we sell two left backs and bring in two young left backs into the club. So if Hato and Kirkes were to be signed, could this mean that Liverpool are setting up a new formation next season? Um, Especially when you've heard recent rumors about Frimpong being a possible addition to the team as well. And I don't think Frimpong's a traditional right back. I think he is minimum suited to play right wing back. But I think his natural game, his natural instinct, he looks like an out and out winger in my opinion. So does that mean we're switching to a back three and having two wing backs, having the likes of Kerkez and Frimpong? Let me present the graphic just so you can kind of envision the picture there. So that's how I can see the team setting up. If that was to be the situation where I feel like we could play a 3-4-2-1 formation, having Ato on the left side, Konate on the right side, which we've seen him do in the last couple of years, covering for Trent when he's doing that inverted role. And then you've got Virgil van Dijk playing in the middle of the back three, and then you've got Perkez and Frimpong providing that width on that on the flanks, and then you have two midfielders in ground. But I haven't filled them in because that wasn't the highlight of the show. But just to paint the picture, you've got Groundberg, McAllister, and you've got probably Salah, maybe Szoboszlai playing in that left-sided number 10 role there. And you've got your new striker. I'm hoping to be either TK or someone else, whoever ends up being that main guy. But we'll have a new striker. I'm hoping this summer. So this actually looks like a very mouth-watering prospect in terms of having it as our lineup because you've got great balance in the backline. You've got two real attack-minded fullbacks that will be playing their natural game, so they don't need to think you know, too much about defending. They've got their focus more so in front of them to attack that byline. So I'm not suggesting we will do this, but it's something that we could definitely sort of consider. And like if we were to present the backup for these players, you would have Mamadashvili, you'll have Joe Gomez on the right hand side, Kwanzaa in the middle, and you've got Robertson. Kwanzaa and Gomez can be switched over, so it could easily be, you know, Gomez, because Kwanzaa has played right back, so he can kind of cover that channel if required. And Gomez, with experience, is probably better in that position. But no, one or the other. It is how it is. And then you've got Simicast as your left back and Bradley. So I haven't sold anyone. I've pretty much kept the team as it is. By bringing in Hato and Kerkez and Frimpong, we've evolved where we're playing with back three, but we're playing with real wing backs. And Simicast and Bradley for me would do a good job playing as wing backs as well because they both have great crossing ability and they can definitely attack the flanks really, really well. So this can't be ruled out. This would actually provide a good balance. The only question mark would be Robertson in that left side and centre back role. I'm not sure if he's best suited for that. Um, I could probably take one step further, and it could be where you have someone like Huijsen come in. So maybe Robertson gets sold, or if I can spell his name correctly, there you go, Huijsen. playing in that kind of role there. So that could be a formation. What I probably have, I think, swap him around. So maybe like this. So you got Joe Gomez on the left side, Kwanzaa on the right, and Huijsen. Or if Robertson stays at the club, then you've also got this formation where you've got Huijsen through the middle, Gomez on the right hand side, Robertson, and you've got Bradley and Simicast. So I do feel like this could be an option if we were to sign Hato and Kerkez and Huijsen as well. So that would be our um, first signing plus 3 and 4. So that'd be 4 signings there if this was to be ready. But this would definitely solidify us as a defensive our defensive structure. But you got the likes of Frimpong can actually cover right wing if we were to play a different formation. Um, so yeah, drop a comment, let me know what you guys think. This is probably me thinking a little bit outside the box because it's not a team it's not a formation that we come and play as a team. So yeah, feel free to let me know what you guys think. But I thought, if we were to sign Hato and Kirkis, maybe that, equals to us playing a different formation altogether. So can't be ruled out. So let's see what happens in terms of our targets next year. Um, and speaking of Huijsen, no surprise in terms of him being linked with a move to a club, but the links have strengthened a little bit more as there's rumors suggesting that Konate may not sign a contract extension, which for me is a slight worry. And that would also suggest that Liverpool will be willing to cash in on the centre back this summer as his contract expires next season. So you've got the likes of PSG and Real Madrid being linked with the French defender. I really hope that is not the case. I feel like with Virgil van Dijk set to sign a new contract extension, that should help Konate make that decision to continue his journey, continue playing for Liverpool Football Club in the short term. And I feel like, having Virgil van Dijk for the next couple of years should give Konate that experience to understand once he leaves that, Konate will probably take on Virgil van Dijk's role as the more experienced centre back in the team. So for me, Konate is pivotal in terms of how we go about being, a successful team in years to come. And I wouldn't want us to part ways with Konate. Um, I think if we were to sign Huijsen, there's no reason why we have Konate in the team and Huijsen in the squad as well. So I feel like that would be the best case scenario to have both players in the squad next season. I really hope there's no truth to the rumors regarding Konate, but you know, there has been a contract tabled. He did mention that in the press conference a couple of months ago. He hasn't signed it, but that might also be on the basis that he wasn't sure about the other players, i.e., the Salahs, the Van Dijks, the Trents, what their decision is. Because now, with 2 out of 3 staying at the club, it might help him, make that decision very, very soon. So I think it's just speculation right now. I think PSG, especially Real Madrid, whenever they're involved, they always like to unsettle players and branch out all these false narratives in the media. So I feel like it might just be paper talk more than anything else. But I'm sure we'll find out in due course. As there's the transfer windows will be opening in about 2-3 months time. Um, but yeah, hopefully there's no truth to rumors. I really wouldn't want to see Konate leave. Um, and I'd like to see Huijsen being added to our backline rather than replacing Konate in the mix. Now, I mentioned defenders earlier on, and we can speak about Kwanzaa, who looks like he could be departing from the club. It was always going to be my eyes between Joe Gomez and Kwanzaa, and ever since that first game against Ipswich Town when he was substituted at halftime, I'm not saying the writing was on the wall, but it did show that you know maybe we overhyped Quans a little bit because I think I know I did, I started calling him VVQ at some point. Maybe we went a bit overboard with that. But, when the coach did that in the opening game of the season, it just goes to show that the coach is, number one, ruthless and will make those decisions when required. And number two, maybe Quans is not quite ready to play first team football week in, week out because I thought he may have been ready to transition into that role, especially with Matip departing as well. But this season, he's had a bit of a bit part to play within the team. Whenever he's played, he's done a decent job. I feel like in the last few games, he's done much better. He's even played right back and has put in a decent shift as well. I do feel like it might be worth, selling the player, but at the same time, I think it might be worth also, inserting a buyback clause where, in a couple of years' time, if he's developed into his player that we believe he would, then we have the option to re-sign him, and if you're thinking long term, that 2 years would be the time when Van Dijk, his contract finishes. So it'll be very unlikely that he'll get a contract extension due to his age there. So it could be where we sell Quansah, let him play his football for 2 years at another club, and once we feel like he's ready, we can just buy him back as well. That could be an option that we could do. So there's actually 6 clubs queuing up to sign Quansah. The fee that we've um, labeled for his price tag is £30 million, which for me is actually a little bit less than I would have expected. I would have wanted around 35, 40, if I'm being honest with you. We sold Seth Vandenberg for 30 million, and he was bang average. Fabio Carvalho for the same fee, bang average. So I feel like Kwanzaa has a bit more potential in comparison to those 2 players. So I feel like maybe we could have commanded a bit more in regards to the transfer fee. But the clubs that are being linked to him are Newcastle, Brentford, Bournemouth, Everton, and you've got interest from German clubs like Bayer Leverkusen and Borussia Dortmund. So some very interesting projects there for him to, I guess, explore to see what would be the right move for him. I think a move to Newcastle would be fantastic for him. They have shown the strongest interest in the player. They tried to acquire him last summer, but unfortunately we blocked that move because we didn't want to part ways with the defender. But maybe this is the year where he goes over to Tyneside and moves to Newcastle, who could be playing European football next season. Maybe it helps us sweeten the deal for the Isaac transfer as well. I'm clutching straws right now, but let's see what happens. But that could be his possible destination. I think that's a team that's strongly linked with Consa. So I do actually see him parting ways. But I think a buyback clause um, being part of the deal would be a very smart decision from the club. So we'll see what happens with Kwanzaa in the future. And another player that could be presented with a contract extension is Yaros. So I thought Yaros, his contract was expiring in June. Apparently that wasn't accurate, but they are still suggesting that he will get a new contract, which I'm very pleased about because when I did my Liverpool squad talk, as I analyzed the goalkeeping department, I feel like it was too much work to get a third goalkeeper. It's a very tricky position to recruit a player where if you sign someone experienced, you've got someone probably towards the latter stages of their career. If you sign a young player, he's raw, untested. So it's one of those ones where you don't want to spend money on signing a third choice goalkeeper because they're very rarely going to get any game time. So keeping a player like Yaros, for me, is a smart decision. He's at a good age. He's in his mid-20s, so he could, um, if you wanted to move after next season, he will still have sort of the time to evolve and get a good move elsewhere. Um, he's selected for his national team. He's I think, third choice for Czech Republic as well. Um, he's made 1 or 2 appearances this season, but when he did, I was quite impressed with his cameo. So he looks like he's an assured goalkeeper. So that's what you want from your third choice. So I think a contract extension pretty much suits all parties. And we don't spend money on a third goalkeeper. He pretty much stays and fights for a place. And I think it's the right decision from the club to give him a contract extension. So I'm pleased to hear that this is happening. Now we can kind of focus on other areas of the pitch because the goalkeeper one shouldn't really be assessed. We do have Mamadashvili coming through, but there's also rumors suggesting that he might be loaned out to Valencia again. So no real clarity in terms of departments in every area. I feel like there's so many question marks. Probably the first time I feel like it's very hard to predict where Liverpool go in the summer. So that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Only time will tell. Now, on to the next rumor is McAllister, who has been linked with a move to Real Madrid. And the rumor that has been circulating is that it involves a potential cash plus player deal. The cash offer being £85 million plus a player who's actually in the picture right there, and that is Arda Güler. Now, firstly, Szoboszlai will not be happy about that because they had a bit of a tiff um, a few weeks ago in the international fixture. So yeah, they won't be getting along very well. But for me, this still is a no go. Firstly, it's Real Madrid, so I'm sick and tired of seeing their names being linked with our players because of course they're going to try and acquire Trent, which is almost certain now. They're trying to recruit Konate, and now they're going for McAllister. So not even that. Gravenberch's agent also mentioned that Gravenberch might aspire to play or Real Madrid, or he's good enough to play for Real Madrid. So agents need to shut their mouths now. They're talking too much. But with regards to McAllister, no, for me, 85 million, yeah, on paper, great deal, big money, but what he's producing on the pitch, I wouldn't sell him anytime soon. So for me, this is a no deal. And Arda Güler, I do like Arda Güler, I'm not gonna lie. I do rate him as a player, but not at the cost of losing McAllister. I feel like McAllister has brought that stability to our midfield. Um, he's produced some good performances for us, and I feel like there's room for him to improve even further, which is such a scary thought for our rivals because I feel like McAllister, if he's banging in goals because he has that capability on a more regular basis, then he can be an unstoppable force in the league. So for me, there's a lot more to come from McAllister, so I wouldn't part ways from him anytime soon. Another player strongly linked with the club is Xavi Simons. Now, Xavi Simons has been linked with a move for about a year now. We were linked to him last summer as well, but that never came to fruition. I don't know how serious it was, but that rumor has recirculated again. I don't know what the likelihood of this deal is happening because he was on loan at Red Bull Leipzig from last summer, and then in January they just made that deal permanent, and I think they paid around £45 million. So I don't expect the club to sell the player 6 months later. From sort of a UEFA ruling, I'm not sure if that is even allowed for a player to move so many times in different kind of deals. I think it's generally you can't move if you moved over to two clubs, but because it's Red Bull Leipzig and then it would be Liverpool, I think it still can happen. But it's very unlikely that they sell players who they've just signed permanently for 45 million. If they were to sell him, they're selling for more, right? So that means we'd have to pay at least 50, £55 million for Xavi Simons. I do like the player. I know a lot of fans on social media have a mixed sort of opinion about him. I think what he brings to the table is versatility. Traditionally plays as an attacking midfielder, but can play on the left wing very well, right wing. So would be a good option for us. Of course, he'd be reunited with his good power there in Cody Gakpo, and will continue that Dutch um, new sort of that Dutch sort of core in our team as well. So I wouldn't be against this signing at all. I think he's a good player. Uh, he's got a decent shot. He scored a fantastic goal for the Netherlands in the Euros last year that I remember. So he's got definitely something about him. He's got great ability. Um, it would also depend in terms of what's happening in the squad. If, for example, if either Chiesa or Elliott were to depart and Xavi Simons came in to replace them, I think that would make sense because you've got a player that covers different positions. Um, he might not be like for like in terms of those two players that I mentioned, but number 10, he can definitely play that role. He can play on the right wing, left wing. So he'd be a good player to come off the bench and provide that quality squad depth that we need to challenge for all competitions. So I would see it as a good signing. Whether it's going to happen or not, I'm not quite so sure. Um, but I want to watch, I think, because the rumors are picking up a bit of pace with regards to the story. So it could be something in the rumor. So we'll see. Another player being linked with a move away from the club, and that is Luis Diaz. Apparently, the rumor is that he's being linked with a move to Al Nassr, who are trying to acquire a new winger into their team. Um, their first choice is Vinicius Junior, and if they aren't unable to acquire him, their alternative uh, solution is Luis Diaz. Now, apparently, Liverpool would consider a fee of 80 million euros, which is roughly 68.5 million pounds. Um, if I'm being honest, that's a big transfer fee. I would accept it. I feel like that money can be spent elsewhere, and we could acquire a good left winger to challenge Gakpo in the team. So I wouldn't say I'd buy a handle for it because I do like Luis Diaz. I think he's a fantastic player, but that is a big bid. And I'd want a similar range for Darwin Núñez as well. I know Darwin Núñez is attracting interest from Saudi as well. I think it was Al Nassr, ironically, that was trying to sign him as well, and it was Al Hilal that showed a bit of interest. Um, so yeah, if that was the bid that would come through around just under the 70 million pound mark, I think that would be a good deal for Liverpool to accept. So uh, drop a comment, let me know what you guys think because I know there's going to be a different opinion on this one. Um, I feel like I'm not saying he's replaceable, but I feel like we could probably sign another player, or we could you know put Chiesa on the left wing as backup for Gakpo, and then strengthen the right wing or the number 10 role. Sign a top player in those positions. So it can be looked at another, or we use that money to sign a top striker, maybe an Isak, just throwing a name out there. So with these sort of funds, and if we're selling Nunes as well, 70 plus 70 is 140. That should be enough to acquire Isak, and then you've not actually had to replace Diaz in the team because you've got Chiesa moving over. Elliot can play in that right wing position. Jones can play number 10 as backup for Szoboszlai. So it could work. So who knows? But if it was me, if I was Richard Hughes, I would consider if that was an offer that was tabled for Luis Diaz. So let's see what happens because I feel like this is going to rumble on for a number of months before we get a conclusion because I feel like it's not a certainty that we know if Diaz stays or leaves. We'll probably find out as we approach the course of the end of the season. So let's see and wait until what happens with Luis Diaz. Another player linked with a move away from the club is Kelleher. No huge surprise there with Mamadashvili almost certain to join the club this summer. He's currently been linked with a move to West Ham, who have Areola and Fabianski as the goalkeepers. I know Fabianski is leaving on a free transfer, so they'll probably need to sign a new goalkeeper. So an upgrade, I guess, for Fabianski, and then it'll be Kelleher and Areola challenging for that number one spot. I think West Ham would be a good team for him, to be fair. Some I would say that he can maybe go a step further and maybe join a club like Chelsea, which I do feel like he's good enough to play for. Um, it would just depend in terms of the finance involved. If those clubs are willing to spend big on a goalkeeper, if I was West Ham, I don't think 30 million is a lot. I think that's a good fee for a keeper who, for me, is probably the best number two in the league, maybe even Europe. I'm going to go out and say that out loud. So he's shown his credentials over the last few years, so there really shouldn't be any sort of question marks about his ability. It's just unfortunate that we have one of the best goalkeepers in world football and Alisson Becker ahead of him. If we didn't have Alisson, then I think Kelleher would be our number one. So, well, now we've got Mamadishvili, so that's another topic there. So I think that would be a good move for Kelleher. But at the same time, I feel like if there's interest from other clubs that can offer him European football, I think that's something he could consider. But West Ham are still a good team that have been in Europe in the last few years. Unfortunately, they haven't done well this season, but with the right coach and the right direction, could be in contention to do that once again. So wouldn't be a bad move for Kelleher. So let's see what happens. But I do expect Kelleher to leave Liverpool this summer. Next player is Tsimikas, another player that I expect to leave this summer. He's currently being linked with a move within the Premier League, actually. So three clubs have shown interest in the player. The clubs are unnamed at this stage. The reports are coming out of Greece. I do feel like Tsimikas will be leaving this summer. Um, with strong rumours circling about Kerkez joining the club. It'll have to be either Robertson or Tsimikas that has to part way or vacate to give space for a new signing to come in. And unfortunately, it's Tsimikas, which is a shame because I feel like Tsimikas has shown good traits of his ability in patches in the last year or two. But unfortunately, he's just not been able to hold down a position and, eclipse Robertson in the starting lineup. And this season would have been the time to do that because I think Robertson has been below par. But with little injuries here and there, he's not been able to maintain that rhythm and not been able to maintain that consistent form. Um, but since he's been at the club, I think he's always done really well for us. Has been a reliable option for us off the bench or whenever Robertson's not available. He's always done a good job for us. So I wish him all the best in terms of wherever he moves in the summer. I do feel like he is destined to walk through the doors, unfortunately. But you know, onwards and upwards, the club has to move forward. And I think for his career at this stage, I think he's approaching sort of late 20s. It would be the right step for him to go somewhere and play first team football. So I think that would be a great move for him at this part of his career. Another player who I'm not too familiar with, but there's strong rumors circling today that has linked with this young player with summer move to Liverpool, and his name is Chris Rigg. Um, the young midfielder is being linked uh, with a number of clubs, to be fair, the likes of Newcastle, Everton, West Ham, Palace, Tottenham, and Manchester United registering interest in the young player. Currently playing his trade for Sunderland. This season, he scored 7 goals with 1 assist in 38 games. So, a player that I'm definitely going to keep a lookout for now because I'm not seeing him play in any live matches. So, I'll see, what he brings to the table. But even if he was a signing, he wouldn't be sort of signing that would be for the first team straight away. He'd maybe be part of the squad, or maybe I don't think he'd go under 23. I think that's a bit harsh, especially if he's playing at Sunderland. He'll probably be part of the squad and learning his trade, and then maybe have an opportunity to play in the first team at some course of the season. But who knows in terms of how strong these rumors are. Um, but definitely a name that I'm going to keep on my radar and see how he develops in the coming months and years. Yep, I've mentioned him on the show now, Kevin De Bruyne. Now, bizarre rumor coming out suggesting that he could be interested in a move to Liverpool. Now, I'm sure you've seen a clip from the years where when he was a little kid, he got interviewed about what team he supported, and he said that he supports Liverpool and his favorite player was Michael Owen at the time. Um, so that's why that's probably maybe leading journalism to from some people to say that he might be interested in a move to Liverpool because he's made some comments saying that his Premiership journey might not be over. He might still want to play at the highest level. It'll just depend on what project is presented to him. So people are suggesting that maybe Liverpool could be one of those teams. Now, as much as I rate Kevin De Bruyne, I don't think this is the right move. As you can tell in terms of how he's played in the last year, you know, he's not the same player. He's not able to uh, play in a dynamic manner. He's lost a bit of pace. He's not as energetic as he used to be, which of course happens, as you get older. So I feel like he would be better suited to go to a Saudi Pro League or MLS, where it's less intense and he's not playing at a crazy level. Like he can still be an elite player at that level and still pretty much run rings around everyone in that league. So I think for him at this stage of his career, that would be the right move to do. But if he stays in the Premier League, we're very interested to see who he joins. I just don't see it being Liverpool, unfortunately. And that is the final rumor of today. Before I close the show, I'll see a few comments here. Uh, First comment is GTV Football Channel says, big up, brother. Hope you're all good, man. Have a good stream, man, and loving this content. Big up yourself, GTV Football Channel. Appreciate your support as always. Please, guys, make sure to subscribe to GTV. Always producing some great content. He's been doing some really good content recently. I've been doing tactical analysis on specific players, players that have been linked with Liverpool as well. So, yeah, definitely hit a subscribe button and check his content. He's been producing some great videos. So big up to G as always. And Double D, big up Double D says Lucha can go. Look, if they're offering 70 million, yeah, I'm all for it. I'm not gonna lie. He's replaceable. I do like him, so I'm not saying, I think he's rubbish and I just want him sold. He's a good player. I do like him, but I do feel like, with that kind of money, we can replace him. We don't really need to get a sort of ready-made replacement. It could be a young and up-and-coming player. I just did a show about attackers, and a player that has sort of been making waves in League One is a player called Malik Fofana, who plays for Lyon. Young 18-year-old, um, pretty much replaced Barcola in that Lyon team. So someone like that could come in and be an understudy for Gakpo. I feel like that would be the great profile for us. We've also got Rio and Gamoa as well. Who, I know he's 16, but he's a special talent. He could be ready to step in and play for the first team in the coming season or so. We've got Chiesa who could cover that left wing position. So, it's not something that's, we don't need to spend big for that left wing position. That money could be used for a striker or, a number 10, however you sort of envision the team to really strengthen. Because I feel like we need a gunman in this team. So if Lucha goes, look, I'm definitely gonna say good luck to him. There's no sort of hard feelings or anything like that. But yeah, as long as we get a good transfer fee, I'm all for it. So let's see what happens with regards to Lucha. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to GTV Football Channel and Double D. Appreciate your engagement as always, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. In terms of upcoming content, I will be doing a match preview of Liverpool versus Leicester City, and I also plan to do a live watch along of that fixture, plus a match reaction show this evening. So this weekend, I should say. Sorry. So yeah, please make sure to hit the notification bell so you know what time I go live with these upcoming shows. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.